So this question came up on one of our free value calls the other week, and it was a really good question. It was basically, what's the one piece of advice that you could give that you think would save us the most time and energy and so on? Like, what's the biggest lesson you want to share from business? And I had to really think about this, and this video is kind of my attempt to kind of re-articulate the response to that question. But to answer that, let me tell you the story of where I was at with my first business. We had a cash flow nightmare on our hands. The business was growing really quickly. And what this was doing is it was putting huge pressure on us because we were not able to order stuff fast enough and ship stuff fast enough because our margins were so poor that we were just basically making all this money, but keeping none of it. And I had a ton of overhead as well. Now, at that time I had 10 staff, in and out part-time, and I was doing a little bit of everything. And what this meant was that my marketing, for example, was pretty much just blasted across every single product that we sold. So even though some products made us no money, we were chucking money into campaigns, selling those products. And then there were these other products which were actually really healthy margins, like 50-60%, and we were barely spending anything on those. We were really not trying to crack it in terms of getting those things to market. We were just focusing on these ones which were easy to sell, right? So anyway, long story short, we had a cash flow nightmare. And I was trying to balance, obviously, my supplier invoices, get people paid, keep goods flowing, keep all the staff paid, keep the lights on. And this was taking a huge toll on me. I couldn't see the direction I need to go in now. How do I solve this problem? I felt I couldn't step away long enough to figure it out. I would take a day off or I'd go out and I couldn't think. I could only think about the business and the problems. I couldn't come up with creative solutions. This went on and I started to drink more. So in the evenings, I would just want to try and get away from thinking about the business. So I would have a glass of wine with my meal, and then I would have a second one, and then I would have another one, and then I might even get into various other types of spirits, right? And I didn't see it at the time, but looking back, I'm like, wow, yes, this was a really bad situation. And I wasn't sleeping, probably because of the alcohol, but also because I was thinking about all these problems, right? And the next day would roll around and I would just get through the day based on coffee, being very reactive and firefighting and solving problems. And once again, never taking the time to step back and try and figure these things out. Weekend would roll around, same thing. I would have this intention to try and figure it out and I wouldn't be able to. So I thought I had ADHD, I wasn't sleeping, I had health issues, blah, blah, blah. So long story short, ending now is that business had to close. And that was kind of inevitable. I just couldn't sustain it. A lot of people in that situation would close their business even if it was profitable, if the tank was just basically empty at that point. They were just completely drained. I've seen that many times. So what's the lesson I learned and what is the answer? Well, when I closed that business, I suddenly felt extremely liberated. And all of these things, like this ADHD, disappeared. I didn't have ADHD anymore. And I was able to stop drinking. And why was this? It's because I had my passion back. I had freedom again, and my entrepreneurial spirit returned, and I was able to think creatively, because obviously I needed to do something. I needed to make money. I wasn't going to go back to a job. I had a little bit of money aside. So I started the next thing, and I started that without any of this stuff. I started that without drinking, and I was focusing on my health, and I was sleeping better, and I had drive. And I grew really fast, and I learned from all the lessons of the past. So how can you do that? How can you lose all those things, have creative drive, think creatively, and grow a business really quickly with passion? Well, you kind of have to go through this reset, I think. So instead of closing the business or being forced into that situation, have a sort of voluntary closure of your business. So 3 or 4 brands I've worked with, I've taken them through this. I've seen that the owner is really drained. I've seen that the passion has gone. And I'm thinking, in order to move forward, in order to save this business and give it a future, and give this person a future, we need to get their passion back. And so the first thing has been to say, okay, why did you start this in the first place? And who is it for? And the great thing is by now you've had a few years of doing this and you can kind of see who is benefiting the most from what you do, right? And you see people saying nice things about you or leaving these great product reviews, saying how it did this, this, and this for them. And you can start to kind of put two and two together and be like, okay, here was my mission, here's my passion, here's what I want to do with this business, and here are people who are already getting like good results and they're enjoying what we do. Fantastic. So now let's just focus on them, right? And let's focus on the products or services which fulfill on that mission for those people, and let's only focus on that. So what this looks like concretely and in terms of cash flow is you have my situation where I was pushing everything indiscriminately, and then you have this new situation which is really 80% of your sales are probably coming from 20% of your products, right? So you can stop worrying about paying all these suppliers and shipping all these goods to people who don't care or are never going to come back and buy from you again, or on orders where you make no money, and stop. If I was doing that, I would, in my past situation, I would pay down those suppliers gradually. I'd arrange payment plans with those people, and I would focus on what are the core things which are really going to drive the business forward. It's a refresh, it's a relaunch, and you want everyone to know about it, okay? So you want to draw a line in the sand in the future and say, this is the date that this brand is going to relaunch. This is our mission now, and we've heard from these people, and this is what they want us to do. And this is what I feel passionate about as the founder. And this is the story of this brand and where I want this brand to go in the future. It becomes a defining moment for you. And believe it or not, people will really feel that energy. And again, I've done this multiple times with people. There's a great cash windfall when you do a relaunch and you do it well. But the biggest thing is you get your drive back, okay? And you can once again start getting out of bed in the morning, and you can operate your business with a much higher degree of freedom. It gives you freedom of creativity. It gives you freedom for problem solving, and it gives you the ability to have a vision. When you're in my situation, and a lot of people are in that situation, you don't have a vision because you're actually scared of what's around the corner. You don't want to look ahead. Everyone's like, have a plan, have a 1-year plan, have a 5-year plan. You don't want one of those. It's scary, right? But when you have a vision, you can now have a plan once again, and you can start bringing that plan to fruition. So long story short, if you are finding yourself in that situation, or if you never want to find yourself in that situation, I seriously suggest you look at your situation today and consider, is it time for us to kind of do a relaunch? It's perfectly fine to do that. You're not wedded to the thing that you decided to do when you started your business, okay? It's perfectly normal and natural for a business to pivot, for it to go through different cycles and different iterations. That is probably the number one piece of advice I can give, because the alternative, if you're going in that kind of negative direction, the alternative is you will be forced into that position, and you're either going to have to close the doors or you're going to be forced to iterate, and that's going to come from more of a painful place than if you do it voluntarily. So anyway, hopefully that makes some sense, and if you have any questions or comments about that, as ever, please do let me know, and thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.